So one day I decided to take my giant 123-pound rubber band ball to the gym, and my friend tried overhead pressing it to start out, and he got it. So then I tried, and I just couldn't do it. And then we saw a scale and decided to weigh it, and it weighed 123. Then I tried benching it and about crushed myself. Then we convinced this other dude in there to try to overhead press it, and he also got it. Then my other friend tried and kind of got it. Then my friend who's 6'7" tried, put it on his knee first, and then also kind of got it. Then I tried again and didn't quite get it, but did a little bit better. Then my friend tried benching it and about crushed himself too, and then got one rep with some stability. And then we had the idea to put it on a treadmill. We put it on and it started rolling backwards. And we got it to just roll on there by itself, and it went all the way to the back and then came off. Then my friend golfed with it. Let me know what else I should do with this giant rubber band ball. So one day, after filling my storm shelter entirely up with ball pit balls, we cleaned it up because someone commented to turn it into a cool fort. So I went to Walmart and got a beanbag, some MRE ice cream and egg, and a thing of water to make it kind of survivally, and a bin, and a desk. And then I took it all to the storm shelter and started putting it together. Put the beanbag in, then the desk, which made me laugh for some reason, and then I hung up these lights. Pretty cool. Next, I got the MREs in a bin, set it on the desk, and then filled the water jug up. And the fort was pretty much done to me. Let me know what else you think I should add. Oh, and I also tried one of the MRE ice cream sandwiches. It was pretty good. So one day someone commented for me to put rubber bands on an egg, and I thought it'd be interesting to test out to see if the bands would protect it from a drop. I started placing the bands on the egg and then switched to a different pile because their bands were better. I kept placing them, double twisting each band because they weren't big enough. It got to this, and then I finished off the pile, and it looked like this. Pretty bouncy. And it was ready for a drop test. I took it out to the cul-de-sac and dropped it from waist high. And yeah, it completely cracked. I didn't really expect that, to be honest. I picked it up, let it go, and then walked off sad, like if I should do something else. So one day I put my 123-pound rubber band ball back on the zip line to destroy a cabbage, an Xbox, and a giant brick wall. Starting with the Xbox, I pulled back and launched. And it hit it pretty hard, but not hard enough, so I put it back on and hit it again. Here's the slow-mo. There goes my old Minecraft worlds. I put it back up for one final hit, and it got totally toasted. And now it was time for the cabbage. I set it down, and it didn't really do anything, so I threw it at a tree. Then I got out the Lego brick wall and built it up. I made it into like a giant rainbow wall, then went back and threw the band ball at it. Yeah, it was pretty cool. The full video where we smash other stuff is on my YouTube, Ayres. So one day someone commented to put flex seal and then rubber bands on the egg. So I'm going to do that and also launch it in my giant slingshot. But first I flex sealed it and then came back and gave it another coat. And after that I left and came back the next day and gave it another coat. When it was dry it looked like this. Then I gave it one last coat and it was ready. And it was still kind of wet, but I placed a bunch of bands on it and it looked like this. Then I placed a bunch more bands on it and it looked like that. Then I got out another pile, placed it on, it looked like that. Then I got out these big ones and it looked like that. Then I put it in the slingshot, pulled back, and launched. And it hit the ground pretty hard. I ran to check if the egg was okay, and it was leaking. It wasn't. So one day someone commented for me to crush the aluminum foil ball with my giant rubber band ball, and I'm going to do that, but first I wanted to add some more aluminum foil. I wrapped it one way and then the other with a lot of foil, and then I patted it down, and then I hammered it down. And it's almost 15 pounds. Here it is next to the rubber band ball, and here's me throwing it as high as I can. And now for crushing it. And then I flipped it on the other side and crushed it again. It didn't do that much damage. It was pretty tough. Comment what I should do next. So one day someone commented for me to freeze an egg in a block of ice and then shoot it out of my giant slingshot. So I put it in a cup of water. I added tape over the top, then put it in a freezer, and the next day it was rock solid. I then ran it under some hot water and got it out of the cup. And it was ready to launch. The only problem was the egg was stuck in the corner, but I'll just aim for the other side. I put it in the slingshot, pulled back, and launched. And this shot was kind of bad, but it landed, and I ran to it, and pretty much nothing happened. So I put it back in the slingshot for round 2, and it hit this tree. Well, bam. I went out to it, and the egg looked fine at first, but that was only because it was frozen. The egg was actually cracked. So then I just threw it against a tree, and then found a bat and obliterated it. Sort of. The egg was still intact. So then I just ate it. So one day someone commented for me to drive over my giant aluminum foil ball with a car. So I'm going to do it. I backed the car on up, pulled forward, and it didn't go over at first. So I backed up and did it again a little faster. Yeah, I did it pretty good, and it looks like a hay bale now. Then I twisted it the other way and ran over it with a back tire. And then backed up onto it. And the aluminum foil ball was fully supporting the weight of this car pretty well. Then the tire spun it off. And here it is now. Let me know what else I should try. So I'm now all the way to part 36 of this giant rubber band ball. And let me know if you want to stop, but for now I'm going to keep going. So I got this new pack and, placed that entire pile on the ball, which was pretty exhausting. So I took a break, then came back later with all these colored rubber bands that I dumped into a pile and placed on the rubber band ball. And I was done. And it might have broke the scale because it reads 102 and 103. So, I don't know. Then I took it downstairs struggling. I rolled it off into the yard and into the road. And just look at this ball in comparison to my head. It's massive, and it's getting pretty hard to lift and throw. And like, if you want me to keep going or just cut it in half. So one day someone commented for me to tie 4 bottles of Diet Coke and Mentos together and then throw it. So I got Diet Coke, Mentos, and tape, and I was going to tie these 4 bottles together. I got the tape out, wrapped it all the way around, then put the Mentos in, one by one, in all the bottles, 3 each, then took it out of the cul-de-sac and threw it. And it did nothing. So I threw it again, and it did that. It was kind of a fail, but I just threw 2 bottles separate, and it did that, which was kind of cool. And then I wrapped 2 bottles together, thinking maybe that would work better, and it did a little bit, but not really. So then I threw another one, and yeah. So one day I went out to the Walmart as seen on TV aisle to see if it all really worked as it does on TV. I browsed around and ended up getting these glasses, this dog brush thing, and some flex tape. And I'm even going to break a skateboard in half to test the flex tape, but I got it all, and it started with this glove thing. It is apparently supposed to remove this much hair from a dog. My dog doesn't shed that much, but I'm going to test it out on him. I brushed him for a minute with it, and at the end it looked like this, so not really. Then I got out these up-close glass things. I don't know, it's supposed to make things bigger. And I tested it on this print, and it made it bigger. And then I got outside and tested it in the real world, and I felt like Logan Paul back with the color glasses, and it made this tree way bigger. It was amazing. I'd never seen the real world this close. And then I got out the flex tape and broke this skateboard in half. I then tried to line it up back together and put the flex tape around it and wrapped it all the way around until the roll was empty. I pressed down on it, then tested it out, and it didn't really work. It was more like one of those train things. So I threw it and it landed right side up and still rolls. So one day I went to Walmart and got a bunch of cardboard to make one of those cardboard tunnel slides on my stairs like I've seen before, and tape, and then left, went home and started building it. I taped the first box down at the top and was adding glow sticks all along on the way down. I then taped the second box to the top one and repeated this process for a long time until eventually I was done. The slide was looking pretty cool. I threw some pillows down to break my fall and went down it. And the first one was kind of anticlimactic, but my brother went down pretty fast and almost hurt himself. And on his next go, he basically destroyed the slide. So I had to remove this piece and put down a new flooring that made it actually faster. Here's a POV of me sliding down. And here's my final go. So after my last trip in my giant hamster ball, I threw it away because it was gross, and I actually ordered a new one that was bigger and better. It was really expensive, but it's massive. I blew it up all the way, and then I got in to test it out. And this one, you can just get in without airing it up while you're in. It was pretty big inside, and then I just ran and did a bunch of flips and stuff. And my last one, you'd get hurt if you fell, but this one has 2 layers, so it's cushioned. I ran out to the street and then just laid around for a second. And here's the inside perspective. Me doing a flip. I tumbled one more time and then let my brother go for a spin. He went out pretty far and then got out. Comment any ideas for videos with this giant thing. So one day I got this giant hamster ball, and the next day it was raining, so I decided to get in it in this air-up dinosaur suit. But first I got it in normally just to test out the rain with more mobility. I ran through this puddle twice, and then rolled around a little bit, ran a little bit, and rolled a little bit more, and then got in the dinosaur suit and got in. And it was a struggle because I couldn't really see where I was going, so I only moved around a little bit and then got out and almost hit my head. But I got out and then ran off and jumped in the air. Let me know what else I should try. So one day I took my microwave to the streets to microwave grapes like I saw in a YouTube video, and it's supposed to make plasma. Don't try this at home, but I'm going to try it. You put a glass cup over and wait, and it did nothing at first, so I tried again with some more time, and it still did nothing. And after some more time, didn't do much, I decided to cut it like I saw in another YouTube video, and then put it in. And that didn't really do much, but make it smoke a little bit more. So I did it again without the glass, and it did that, and then again with more time, it did that. And it only ever left a stain. Let me know how I should get sparks. So I'm now to part 37 of this giant rubber band ball. And it's getting pretty giant, but everyone still wants it to be bigger. So I ordered more rubber bands, dumped them into a pile, and started placing. And then this happened because it's getting hard to place them. But I kept on going, finishing the pile, and then I took a break and went outside to play with the ball in the snow. And there wasn't much snow, but I made as big a snowball as I could, set it on the rubber band ball, and then crushed it. And then I came back to place another pile. I dumped it out, and then I placed it a little bit differently this time. I just threw all the bands on the ball. Bam. Magic. And the ball actually broke the scale, and the scale won't read anymore, so I don't know how much it weighs. But I took it out of the cul-de-sac, and it's just pretty heavy. So, like if you want me to keep on going. So one day someone commented for me to drop my rubber band ball on a microwave, so I'm going to do that. I'm also going to crush this piece of furniture along with a few other things with this giant 100-pound rubber band ball. So I got in a ladder and threw it, and it did that. I then picked it up and plugged it in to test it would still turn on, and it did, but the doors broke. Next I got this jug of water I just filled up with the hose, and it did that. Then this bouncy ball that was way louder in person. And last but not least was this piece of furniture I found in my attic, and it did that. Let me know what else I should crush with my rubber band ball. So after destroying our microwave with my 100-pound rubber band ball, someone left a comment saying to do a phone. But first I'm going to do this broken TV my neighbor gave me. I put the ball on there and threw it. And it didn't do very much damage, so I just threw it again. And it mainly just bounces on it, so I stepped on it a bunch and then got out a giant snowball that was left over. And that was pretty cool and left me with a snowball. And then I got out the phone. I set it down, then threw the ball on it, but it missed, so I threw it again. And it cracked it. Look at it. I'm just kidding, this is a fake phone. It's actually smashed now. So one day someone said I should try to go to the pawn shop again, so I'm going to take my rubber band ball, this chain, and some other stuff. I put the ball in my car and then got my bling on and then went inside the pawn shop and said,
"What's going on?"
I'm back. Got a few more things.
Hey, what you got today?
Some bling on this
Wow,
time.
that's blingy.
First off, I got this tiny rubber band ball.
Is this an offspring of that one?
Sure, yeah.
Having babies? What's up with that?
Want to buy it?
I then told him I wanted $50 for it and he said,
$50 for $5 worth of rubber bands? Better pass on that one.
so I then threw it and got out my genuine gold watch.
Gold watch.
And he didn't seem to think it was gold.
You got screwed.
Walmart, what a ripoff.
They do that to a lot of people.
Probably explains why it was like $10.
And after that, I got out my chain and said it was probably
This much
worth.
Gold's probably worth about $30K.
He looked at me like I was crazy and then weighed it.
90 grams.
Is that a lot?
No.
Oh.
And he ended up passing on the chain, so I got out the rubber band ball. It was 80 pounds last time I brought it in, and now over 100.
You're a lot stronger than you look.
It would take a lot for me to let this thing go. What's your best offer?
You got $150 for it.
And I knew I couldn't do it. So I threw the ball down and headed out, knowing I'll probably never sell it. So one day I decided to prank my brother Jack by filling his entire truck up with ball pit balls. And my brother likes his truck a lot, so I don't know how he'll react. And luckily I had already had these ball pit balls from previous videos, you know. And I just began dumping them in the truck and then shut the windows down to make sure they didn't spill out while I put them in. And eventually the truck was filled up, so I went to get him and get his reaction. I did something to your truck. Oh, yeah? Go take a look in the window.
Why are your windows?
And at first he just paused in silence looking at the truck. And then he opened the door. What do you think?
You know how long it's gonna take to clean up? How am I gonna find my school supply? In the sea crevice.
Then he jumped in it, and then I jumped in it and threw a bunch of balls around.
Later, bruh.
And he took off. So one day someone commented telling me to put my giant hamster ball in the water, so I'm going to do that. But I pushed it through this fence and walked it out to the pond. But the fence had knocked a hole in it, so we had to repair it, and then I got in and got in the water. And I couldn't really move very well, and my biggest fear was going through the hole. I slipped a lot and also just laid down. And then I slipped some more and couldn't move for a while until I accidentally made my way over to these branches. And I was trying to run the other way in fear of moving into them, but I couldn't. And eventually I did just float into shore and then got grabbed and got out. Like if I should jump off this bridge with it. So this is rubber band ball part 38, and this ball is getting giant, and I'm going to keep going. Got a bunch more bands, you know, and I tested out these new bands that didn't end up working. So I just ended up going back to these colored rubber bands, and the camera cut out, and I lost all that footage of me putting on. So here's me putting on the last one, and then taking it downstairs. And the ball now weighs 109 pounds. I took it outside, and it ran into a bush. And then I set it on top of this swing and started swinging it. And it was pretty cool, and I tried to knock it off, but couldn't. The most it did was that. And then I just got on it and kicked it off. And it's so heavy I can barely pick it up anymore. Let me know if you want me to keep going. So one day I decided to go dumpster diving behind a phone store to see what I could find, and it was empty. So I drove out to a different phone store, and it was locked. So I went out to Academy's dumpster, and it looked promising, but someone was already there, so we left. And ended up going out to this different sports and outdoor stores, and I looked through it and didn't find anything for a while until eventually I found a watch.
A watch?
And it didn't work, but it was still cool. And then I got in, kept looking, and went out to the side and found this speaker. And I don't know if it works. So I'm to part 39 of this giant rubber band ball, and I can't find any other type of rubber bands except these ones to place on it. So let me know if you have any other options, but for now, I'm going to keep on placing these. And I placed the entire pile of color rubber bands until I was all out. And then I took the ball outside to mess around with it, and it was snowing, so I just laid on the ball and caught the snow. And I can't even lift it over my head anymore because it weighs like 110 pounds. And then here's me breaking a basketball goal with it. And here it is next to a basketball, and then me standing on it, and let me know if I should keep on doing this. So one day I saw a TikTok where they tested flex tape, and I wanted to test it out for myself, so I got a jug of water, filled it up, I cut a square of flex tape out, and then stabbed this thing, which took quite a while, but eventually I got a hole in it, and then I slapped the flex tape on. And it worked pretty well. There was a small leak, but a little bit of rubbing and you got it out. And next I decided to test a 50-pound weight. I put the flex tape on, and it couldn't get it, so I decided to move to 45 pounds, and it got it up, and held there for quite a while. This is some strong stuff. So one day I went out to the gas station to make some random gas station drink because I saw someone else on TikTok do it. I got Mountain Dew and then got this random candy, some Lifesavers and some Crawlies and then a Bang. And it was all ready to be thrown together. I put the Lifesavers in, then the Crawlies and then this stuff and then added the Bang and started stirring. And I took a drink and I couldn't quite tell what I thought. And it was pretty much sweet Bang, but I kept on drinking it and the flavor started to come out. And then I tried one of the pieces of candy in it and that was really gross. But I came back a few hours later to try the drink and it was even better. And then 24 hours later, it got all big and looked like this. So one day I decided to turn my giant 110-pound rubber band ball into a wrecking ball using my backyard zip line. But first I pushed it onto the storm shelter and ran it off and then started tying it up. I put it on a ladder and got it hooked to the zip line and then I tested it out and it was pretty cool looking. And now it was time to wreck some stuff, starting with this broken piece of furniture. And then I turned it to its side. And it absolutely destroyed it. The drawer was broken and I thought it was good for one more hit. and it was obliterated. And then I decided to do this trash can. Yeah, let me know what else I should destroy. So one day it was snowing and I decided to take my giant hamster ball and get in it. I wanted to see what it was like in the snow and how high I could jump in it from. I got in and rolled around a little bit, ran. Saw a cool tree, did a few more flips, and then pushed it onto the deck. And from there I got in and ramped it off. And after that I ran a little bit more and then got out to see if I could jump in it from different heights. And I missed that one, got that one. And then I positioned the ball even higher and missed, fell backwards, and missed again. So I ran back even further and I still came kind of short. But on this last run, I got it. Let me know what else I should try. So I'm now to part 40 of my giant rubber band ball, and I wanted to walk you guys through the entire process. I take it upstairs and into this room where I sit down and place rubber bands. I'm actually running out of the type of rubber bands I can place because these ones are just too tiny and break on me. And these ones are just getting old and I have to untangle them every single time. But no worries, I found this random custom rubber band site on the internet and called them up.
Yo, I need your 15-inch rubber bands. I'll place an order for like 25 pounds.
And just like that, $200 worth of rubber bands was on the way. But for now, I'm going to place these ones. I put them in a pile and then untied them all and got to placing them. And I placed the entire pile of colored rubber bands until I was all out. And after that, I took it downstairs, which was a struggle, but I got it. And I weighed the ball in at 113 pounds. I then took it to the street to try to pick it up. And I can get it up to here, but it's too heavy to get over my head. So I just laid on it, like if you want me to keep on adding bands. So one day I decided to take my giant 110-pound rubber band ball back to the abandoned water park that I took it to before to run down this slide back when it was 70 pounds. And last time we did it, people yelled at us, so we had to find the owner this time to get permission. And we found this house. It was right beside the park, so we knocked on the door and no one answered. So we kept looking around until these kids came up. They went and got their older brother and we asked him and he said,
A rubber band ball down a slide.
Go ahead, man. All right.
and we thought we were good to go until he said this.
I'm not supposed to be out here.
And we didn't know what he meant by that, but we didn't care because he gave us permission and we were still going to send it. So I carried the ball all the way to the top and it was pretty cool looking up there. Here's the drone shot. And I decided to do this aluminum foil ball first. I pushed it off and it kept on going and then stopped. Here it is on the drone. So I went out and got it, but then the drone cam picked up on a car driving by. And after that, I heard a bunch of yelling right when I was about to launch the rubber band ball. The full video is on my YouTube, Dylan Ayres. So one day I decided to build one of those Saran wrap tree houses that I keep seeing on TikTok. And I was going to build it in this half put together tree house. And I started by making the floor. And after the floor, I was going to do the roof. They would also double as a hammock. I wrapped the Saran wrap around a bunch of times. And it kind of looked like a spider web. And then I got back up there and went around a bunch more to make sure it was strong enough. I then wrapped it around all the corners and started weaving it all the way in. And this first section was pretty strong, so I kept on going, making it even stronger and then branching out. And I kept on going and making a super strong middle section until eventually it looked like this. Part 2 of my Saran wrap treehouse. So I was almost done and I just kept on going for quite a while, non-stop. And I was leaving the middle undone so I could get on it, but I just had this tiny section to do and I finished. And then I was ready to go inside the epic treehouse and test it out. I got on and at first I thought the plastic was going to break, but when I spread myself out, I was chilling. And it was a pretty cool treehouse. Here it is from above and it's a pretty sturdy thing. And when it's raining, you can just go under it like this. It even holds water. Look. And then it started to thunder. The full video is on my YouTube, by the way, Dylan Ayres. So one day I got a comment saying I should drop my 110-pound rubber band ball on my Saran wrap for it. But it's really heavy, so I got a tarp, tied it up with paracord, and then tried to lift it with a pulley system. And we ended up having to use a truck to get it up because it's too heavy. But we put it on the wrong branch and couldn't get it up from there, so we put it on a different one. Still couldn't get it up from there. But on the third time we got it, and I pulled it onto the fort and cut it open, and it was on there. It made it sag a lot, but I moved it over to here and then threw it off. What else should I try? So I'm now at a rubber band ball part 41 and my 25 pounds of rubber bands got here. So I took it upstairs along with my giant rubber band ball. I took it all to the room where I placed the bands and then I threw that in a package and opened it up. And each bag weighed 5 pounds. I dumped them all out and the bands were pretty good. So I dumped out 10 pounds of bands and got to placing. And it was a lot, so I had my brother help me with this one. And we were going for so long, my phone even cut out because it ran out of storage. But we finished eventually and then took it downstairs. I got it all the way down and then weighed it in at 123 pounds. I took it outside and just look at it next to a wheel and next to my head. And here's my best effort at trying to pick it up. I can barely do it anymore. Let me know what else I should do with this ball. So one day, after destroying a bunch of stuff with my homemade rubber band ball wrecking ball, I got a microwave and decided to go again. And it weighs like 123 pounds now, so it should do more damage. Here it goes. Yeah, I didn't think it was enough damage, so I set it back up and went again. And it did get nailed, but I wanted to hit it one more time.
Boom.
And then I put down this kickball thinking it would go super far, but it didn't. So then I got out this broken TV that I failed to smash before. And it did that and completely destroyed the microwave that was holding it up. I walked up to it and then my brother pulled the door off. Let me know what else we should smash. So one day I decided to fill my storm shelter up with ball pit balls, but first I had to clean it. I swept it up for a minute until it looked like this. It was a little bit better, and then I got the ball pit balls. And I dumped them all in, and it looked like this. So I went in and laid down. It was pretty cool. I threw the balls in the air, and then I started trying to make it into this little hole. I missed, and then got close, and then kept going until I got it. Then I threw it at that hole, chilled a bit, and jumped in. And here's what it looks like with the door shut, just an underground ball pit. Let me know what else I should do. So one day I wanted to freeze a giant 6-foot water balloon in the ice cold, but the hose was frozen, so I tried pouring hot water on it. When that didn't work, I put it in the hot tub. That got it to thaw out, so I zip tied the water balloon on and started filling it up. Here it is from the window. I decided to stop it here because we didn't know if too much would make it not freeze. And I struggled to get it off, eventually got it tied, and then here was it at night, kind of frozen. And then the next morning it was solid. I could put my foot on it and even stand on it. So we decided to cut it open. And it was a lot thinner than I thought, so I just smashed it a bunch. Like if I should fill up a bigger one and let it sit for longer.